Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So for today's video I thought I would do something a little bit different, something I've never done before on my channel. So today I thought I would sit down and share some makeup tips with you guys. Now I probably will title this something along the lines of like makeup tips for beginners, but of course these tips don't have to solely be for beginners. You can use these if you think they would be helpful to you even if you're not a beginner. So yeah, I have 6 tips to share with you guys today. So before we get into it, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload. And now let's get started. Okay, so tip number 1 is for foundation, and I feel like this is going to be most helpful to you. If, like me, you have a foundation brush that tends to leave lines in your foundation and doesn't necessarily give a smooth blend, or I guess this could be helpful if you just want to do your foundation a little bit quicker, but I've mainly found this helpful for applying my foundation faster and getting the lines out of my foundation that my brush tends to leave in. So basically you'll just take your foundation brush and your foundation, apply your foundation with a brush first, and then you will take a sponge and go over it just to get rid of those lines. You can add a little bit of extra product if you feel like you need to. I sometimes do that. But yeah, like I said, I just feel like it's a slightly quicker way of doing your foundation if you're perhaps in a rush, because most of the blending is done with the brush and then you're just kind of smoothing it with the sponge. But also I feel like if you're like me and your arm tends to really ache when doing your foundation only with a sponge, this could be helpful as well, because we all know, let's be real, blending your foundation with just a sponge really makes your arm ache. Like, it really hurts sometimes. So yeah, that is tip number 1. Okay, so tip number 2 is for powder. I do feel like this one maybe would be aimed more towards beginners, and that is to use a pressed powder. Pressed powder, especially if you're just starting out with makeup, is so much simpler. If you're not entirely sure what a pressed powder is, it's basically just one like this. Looks like that. That is what a pressed powder is, in case you're not entirely sure. Obviously I feel like the main 2 powders you have in makeup are pressed powder and loose powder, and I would recommend sticking to pressed powder if you're a beginner, just because it's a lot easier. Obviously there's a lot more technicalities and a lot more technique to loose powder. There's like baking and all that kind of stuff. To be honest, even I have never used loose powder. I want to give it a go, but even I tend to stick to pressed powder. I just find it so much easier, and like I said, there's way more technicalities to loose powder. So if you are a beginner or you're just starting out with like foundation and powder and stuff, I would recommend sticking to pressed powder. So yeah, that is tip number 2. Okay, tip number 3. So tip number 3 is for shimmer eyeshadows. So I feel like a few of you may already know this tip, but for shimmer eyeshadows, I prefer to apply them with my finger first. I feel like it's just a nice way to make sure you're getting the colour payoff and the pigment and keeping the shimmer, because I feel like sometimes when you apply shimmers with a brush, you can lose a bit of the shimmer, if that makes sense. So yeah, I like to apply my shimmer eyeshadows with my finger, and then I'll generally just go over the edges with a brush, or if you would prefer, you can go over the whole eyeshadow with a brush to blend it out a bit better. But yeah, I've just found that super helpful for applying shimmer eyeshadows a lot quicker, and also just getting, like I said, the pigment of the product. So yeah, that is tip number 3. So tip number 4 is for your inner corner highlight. So the bit right on the inner corner on your tear duct area, and I guess you could use this tip for shimmer eyeshadows as well if you want to try it. I feel like maybe I've tried this in the past for shimmer eyeshadows as well, but basically the tip is to wet your brush. So I had actually forgotten about this until recently, and it is a tip I have definitely revisited, and it is, I guess, something I have started doing again more, as I completely forgot how much I love this. I'm going to grab a brush to kind of show you what I mean. And basically what this trick will do is it will give an extra kind of pop of highlight. It kind of enhances the pigment and the shimmer. So yeah, what you're going to do is you're going to take either a small eyeshadow brush, a flat brush, anything like that, and you're going to take your setting spray, and then with your highlighter you just would spray the brush with setting spray and then dip it in your highlighter. You can also put the product on the brush first and then spray it. It works both ways, and then you would just apply it like normal, so like to your inner corner. And yeah, like I said, basically this just enhances the pigment. It gives way more pop of highlight, and yeah, this is one of my favorite tricks, especially if I'm wearing like colourful eyeliner. I feel like it just enhances the eyes so much more. So yeah, that is tip number 4. Okay, so tip number 5 is for bullet lipsticks. So I use this trick every time I wear a bullet lipstick. I don't wear these super often, so I find this helpful as I'm not the best at applying them. So if you, like me, don't wear bullet lipsticks often, or you're just not the best at applying them, this is the perfect trick for you. So for this trick, you're going to take your bullet lipstick and you're going to use the very tip of it as a liner first. So I've actually found this super helpful myself. Basically, you just take the tip of the lipstick and you're going to kind of use it as a lip liner first, and then you would, I guess, like turn it around to the like flatter edge that you would usually apply this lipstick with, and just kind of fill it in from there. It definitely has made applying bullet lipsticks way easier for me. I've never been the best with them. I tend to prefer lip kits that kind of come with a liquid lipstick and a lip liner. But yeah, so I feel like if you don't have a lip liner in the shade of the lipstick you want to wear, or you're just not the best at applying bullet lipsticks, this is going to be the perfect trick for you. Like I said, it's helped me so much. So that is tip number 5. Okay, on to tip number 6, which is going to be for your eyeliner. And so I feel like this tip is going to be helpful, particularly if you're a beginner, but also if you're just not the best at applying typical eyeliner. And so this tip is to use eyeshadow. So eyeshadow is great for eyeliner because, especially if you're a beginner, it is easier to get precise because you would just use an angled brush. And so I feel like sometimes you can get a little bit more precision with an angled brush than a typical eyeliner. It's also great if you just find regular eyeliner too intense, or you just are going for a more soft look that day. So yeah, this is a trick for eyeliner I use all the time. Honestly, I've started preferring eyeshadow as eyeliner over a typical eyeliner. Again, it's easier to apply. If you're a beginner, it gives a softer, less intense look. I feel like sometimes, depending on what eyeliner you would be using, the angled brush can give more of a precise application. So just to show you, for example, the kind of brush I use for this, I just use this one, which is the Spectrum A17 brush. I believe it's a brow brush, but because it is so small and it has like a tiny little angle to it, this is perfect for my like eyeliner when I'm using eyeshadow. It's also great for getting winged eyeshadow because you can kind of like stamp it with the angle of the brush, which is another thing I find really, really helpful. Because again, I feel like if you're not the best at eyeliner, or if you're a beginner, regular eyeliner can be a bit difficult to do in a wing. Even I still struggle with it, and at least this way, if I'm using eyeshadow and an angled brush, if my wing goes wrong, I can fix it easier with concealer than a regular eyeliner. But yeah, so I hope that that trick made enough sense for you guys. Okay, so that was the final makeup tip for this video. Another one I've just decided to throw in, a little bonus tip, would simply be, especially I guess when using really highly pigmented products like eyeshadows and stuff, always tap off your brush so that you can, I guess, start with less and build up. I feel like it's always best to start with a little product and then build up, rather than just apply too much product from the beginning and have to try and fix that afterwards. So that's just a little bonus tip for you guys. But yeah, so that brings us to the end of this video. I hope that you found this helpful, particularly if you're a beginner. Even if you're not, I hope you still found it helpful. I hope that I explained them in enough detail and well enough that they made sense to you guys. And yeah, I just hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, then be sure to give it a huge thumbs up to let me know. If you're new to my channel, then be sure to subscribe right over here and turn on post notifications so that you never miss an upload. And I also have a vlog channel if that is something you'd be interested in. You can subscribe right over here. If you would like more content from myself, then you can click here for my last video, or you can click here for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week with another video. Mwah. Bye guys!